What's up, people? This is someone else's video, but besides the point. It's Gamingfan and XNOX here. Basically, today we're going to do a discussion, or better cover some misconceptions about Makima. And, well, we did cover a bit here and there about her relationship and it with Denji. That's also some few misconceptions there about how that relationship was. But we'll look at more of that. Just look at the previous video of his video. Once at my video, but his video, or our video, I guess, however you want to put it.
Yeah.
So basically today we're going to be talking about how most of the misconceptions that people get wrong about Makima, and we're talking about it generally speaking, especially considering the British pages that I've seen. Now, the first one we're going to cover is basically the part where people keep getting the whole idea about her just being purely evil. Yeah, that part is wrong because I mean, even you in that video we both discussed that she was raised to be a weapon. She wasn't like, for example, her manipulation of Denji she wasn't doing it for the enjoyment. She was doing it because she believed it necessary to achieve her goals. She wasn't doing it because she got enjoyment out of his predicament. And secondly, the way her upbringing was, like you mentioned, her basically being raised to be a weapon. Now that all factors in, and by the government having her to be the way she become to control and do stuff, that was made for basically to keep the Public Safety Bureau together because of her. Now, with that being said, another thing I want to get deep into about her situation is that despite everything that the way things were, at the end of the day, her real goals weren't like, at the end of the day, her real goals were good, but it's just the way she went about it because, like, she, of course, in her mind, being shaped to be a weapon, that's basically just all she kind of knew. And just to make this, should I even use that comparison? Nah, I won't use it in this video. But basically, just to make it more clear, is that she basically didn't have any, like, for example, she never encountered a selfless person. Everybody she has around her is selfish. And of course, folks either fear her or just outright, like I said, just want to use her. Like, and that goes for two, and I might as well point that out in this video right now. Like, for example, like, I remember, in case if you want to know about TV tropes, basically, like, there's a trope of basically saying the friend that nobody likes, but the only problem with that is, and just talking about the two people like Denji and Aki, and it's like, the problem with that is they both don't really care about her, even them two. They're just going to her because of what she can offer to them. So it's not really an altruistic situation. So, yeah, that doesn't really apply. I feel like, honestly, I can't think of a trope that would go with that, but it's like, it's just them having self-serving purposes with her, not, like I said, selfless ones. Because, like I already covered in the other previous video, that Denji's interaction with her was not selfless at all. It was actually, like I said, self-serving reasons, so selfish reasons. And then as for Aki, it was just kind of more like him looking at her as like, making him feel like he has importance. So that's all that was. It's like, it's one of those things where it's like, at the end of the day, and this also goes for people that she also had chained to her when they died. Is even after they die, it's like every single person that you see that ended up being on the receiving end, and along with the other people that you see that was chained, yeah, those are just folks that came to her because they wanted something from her, not because they actually were being altruistic. I mean, like, for example, like, you've seen that panel before, where even that one dude that like, that made contracts with her, and then it just basically went downhill from there for them anyway. Now, the third thing I want to get into is basically, let me see, just to get this one just to get this one out of the cover, is also the fact that, like, with her being against the government, or not against the government, but what she didn't know what the government was really up to. If she did find out what the government was really up to, if anything, she would have gone against them. Because, like you said yourself, when we covered this in that other chapter that recently came out, is that she wanted world peace and the government was against that, and we're back to this things causing war again, which further implemented her point, like you mentioned before, or like we mentioned before in that video. And a lot of people, I will say this, about that other misconception, that third one, is that they're so laser focused on basically her actions that she's done as an abuser, that they completely ignore everything else, which just create this one-dimensional, rigoted perspective on her, where I'm like, then they act like that's the only thing that defines her when it doesn't, because yeah, she did in the two people that he actually didn't care about, Anki and Power. But at the same time, like I said, in her role being a weapon, again, her I guess I'll say tactical mindset. She doing stuff that serves her purpose, and the moment it does serve her purpose, well, then they're screwed. So, and then it doesn't help that, like I mentioned before, the people that come to her because they just want something in return from her, then it ultimately ends up being the price for it. So, because now that I think about it, like you remember how the beginning starts out, right? When she offers, like when she was given an offer of like whether just take him down right there or have him come with her. Remember
Yeah,
that moment?
yeah. In chapter one, yeah,
I mean, this is just a fridge horror me thinking, but I feel like if it would have went the other way of her just taking him down, then I just feel like it would have been just chained too, and they should have removed it from his heart, or yeah, like something like that.
pretty much.
Yeah, I could see it. So it's like that just would have been the bad outcome, and the other bad outcome either way. But the bottom line too, I want to point out is that because, like I mentioned before, people become so laser focused just on specifically on the bad stuff that goes on. It's like I said, they're ignoring the fact that because a lot of people tend to do that is that the things that ultimately led up to what she became in the beginning. I remember even Death Battle even did a video about basically like this like Gojo essentially what she'd be like if she wasn't raised as a weapon, and that just goes to show you that like her role in the long run isn't just basically all her. That is on the government. And then, not to mention, the real problem truly is the government still. But like I said, because who's to say, like, let me ask you something, dude, and just be clear, just to get this off the plate, is that who's to say that the government won't make someone else be a weapon too? And then just turn into basically her. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like,
If they found a way to make her a mindless weapon, they would do it.
mm-hmm.
You know, there's
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
the only problem because Devils has agency to an extent, so they cannot really
Mm-hmm.
do that unless you
That's what I'm
find
saying.
another devil for the sole purpose of like mind control another devil. You know, so it's like unless you do that, there's not much they can do with it.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, because like I say, who's to stop them from trying to turn someone else to a weapon and then they just turn into her?
Yeah,
Then it's just basically process being itself. And then, like I said, people focus so much on her that they ignore that. Like I said, it's the government doing that. Because I've seen some people in comments. Because I'm actually now I think about it, I might as well bring it up here. I remember there was this Reddit post for this dude. It sounded like even the way he sounded, even he admitted to me he wanted to get something off his chest. It just sounded like his emotional bias is just wanting him to release like going about the shit that she's done. Oh, but she did this, but it's just specifically wrong. And I'm like, I mean, it's true, but he's just so rigoted and focusing on that. I'm like, okay, you just releasing something. Because it saddens me that I mean, I hate to say it, but it saddens me that when I see in the long run, it's like she just became something just for people just personally just to bring their personal biases on. You know what I'm saying? So then they started creating these misconceptions out of that, and it's like, yeah, they just focusing too much on that because, like I said, it's one of those things where I'm like, okay, now he's just basically hammering everything on that one specific thing. But then, like I said again, it's just their perspective is being one sided, and it's bad. It's really bad when you have someone who has a rigid perspective on things because
pretty
he's just
much.
like personally attacking her. I'm like, dude, chill the fuck out. It's like he's just being so hell bent on a personal attack, and I'm like, okay, motherfucker, you need to chill. You know, because I mean, like I said, it's like even the dude admitted talking about he really hates her. He really hates. Okay, yeah, you just the group that just wants to basically have a discussion just to excuse your hate. It's like I said, that's what the problem is. It's like you just want to excuse that so much, but then because you keep leaning towards your emotions so much, you turn into something that it isn't. That's what the problem is. It's just like you're turning into something that it isn't, and you're just letting your emotions blind you now, and that's not good. But yeah, like that's one of the other misconceptions. It's like, him, he's just so focused on that and just acting like, because I mean, because ultimately, dude, when like, because both had discussions, like they keep acting like again, they keep acting like she's the only one wrong. I'm like, that's not really true. It's like that's not true. That's not true.
Well, not even close
It's
within
like,
the grand scheme of things within the Chainsaw Man setting.
yeah,
You know, like I said,
yeah,
the government's on a mission, right? It's like, look,
mm-hmm.
Makimas want world peace. We are against that. They explicitly said those words, right? It's
Yes, they
the,
did.
oh, maybe not verbatim the way I say it, but you get the point. But like, and
Yeah,
also after part one, in part two, they're doing businesses with other devils, right? So it's like
Same,
we defeat the purpose of the whole public safety committee. Este,
pretty much.
and and one of the devils, like to work with the government, they basically doing their own. I hate to say it, but like basically their own Epstein trial, basically because they're
Oh.
doing that type of thing to to appease a certain devil because they work with the government. So if they're doing Didi level shit, like you think Makima is in the wrong for manipulating a couple of people? Like fuck, no.
You see, you see, yeah, because like I said, because the way people keep focusing on that shit in part one, they make it seem like she's the only one that's wrong. Like, no, she isn't. No, not even close. Like then, like I said, even the people around her, they're not really in the right either. Even the people she's working with aren't truly in the right. To be honest, just like they just because what it is that they just focus so much on her that they ignore everything else, and then they make it seem like you're the only one that's wrong. Because like I said, because like I told you before, the other videos, like they make it sound like Denji was right, and like no, he was not. He was also using her. It just was unconsciously,
Yeah,
which I mean, it doesn't help.
yeah, it
Like it
doesn't
wasn't
help,
intentionally
but
so,
like,
but
but yeah,
yeah, like
and
yeah, because I mean,
also
like when you keep it.
and
Oh, go
also
ahead.
like two things like I already mentioned this like the free videos we did about Chainsaw Man, but like but I keep mentioning because it points points my position stronger every time. It's been confirmed that in the Chainsaw Man universe, because it is an alternative history 1990s. It does,
Right,
you know, and she by or either she did it or she approved of it. That in a world where Nazis don't exist, slow onset asthma don't exist, and AIDS don't exist. So we talk about roughly around 200 plus million people that she saved off screen, right? Este,
right,
well, in the newest chapter, Chainsaw Man, 210, I think, I may be wrong, but like the newest, the one that just came, if the
right.
one of the female characters, the new one, who are working with the government, made a deal with, and I shit you not, this sounds like a shit post, but
It,
I shit you not that she
oh
did a
no.
contract with the STD devil, and and her
Oh
ability
no.
and her ability is to clone herself. But in order to clone herself, she had to do intercourse with other people, aka spreading sexual disease to other people to become a copy of her. You know,
Okay, that
with
doesn't help. You see,
and
people just focus on
and
her, and then you just ignore that shit.
and also another detail that people often ignore besides the very obvious STD level, right? The person who's doing that is 14. So we have another
Okay,
Epstein level shenanigans going on with the government.
okay, okay. I really hope that doesn't get your video flagged. But the thing is that, like I said, within the lore itself, she's not the only. Like, She shouldn't be the main one focused on just to attack and make it seem like, oh, everybody else is in the right. She's the only one that's right. It's not like that at all. Like I said, that's why I get sick and tired of people, not just from chase like a chainsaw community, but it's like other folks like. They turn the situation to a black and white thing. It's not even black and white, sadly. Like I mentioned before, I already said this in 3 videos about even considering Genji's victimization is that he was never truly in the right because he was just using her too, just unintentionally so. And then same thing with I mentioned 4 same thing is just like I said, people ignore the bigger picture, and you just mentioned that with the government. So it's like I said, you just personally focus on her because of emotional biases, not because you're looking at the bigger picture. Because bigger picture is like you said, they're making deals with other devils, so that does kind of ruin the whole point of the Public Safety Bureau anyway. And
Yeah,
then, not to mention, you know, especially considering what we've seen with the later stuff, is that even the other countries, or not countries, even the government is like they still want to dominate everything. That was the whole point. That was the whole reason why they had Maka be a weapon, because she could dominate stuff and control stuff. That was the whole point, because she's the control devil. So they're just using her to keep the Public Safety Bureau in place, so that way things would go on their command. That was all that really was. She was serving the government, basically, ultimately. But they make it seem like, oh, she's just bad. Oh, it's the government. In the bigger picture, it's the government that put her in that role for that specific reason. Not because she just enjoys control. No, because that's the only thing she knows, and she just put in this position to do just that. Like I said, it's like out of all the things that's going on, people just focus mostly on that, and I'm just like, okay, you guys are stupid. I'm sorry, but they're stupid
Yeah.
because I mean, like for example, look at how basically the alternative history is, and then now if the recent chapters now they've basically somehow I don't know how it is with part two they basically remade the nuclear weapons somehow, and now I guess another war's gonna spark out, and now it's looking like things are just gonna go downhill again. So it's like, and again, this kind of proves her point about the whole entire thing she's trying to do originally. And now
Yeah.
it's just basically, everybody that was trying to oppose her. Now you realize that they're opposing her wasn't really in the right reasons. You know what I'm saying? Like now you realize they weren't truly in the right now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, because like I said, it's like even like to be honest, like I said, I hate to say this, but even with part one, to be honest with you, it's not really good against bad in the specific way you think. It's just basically we want to dominate stuff with weapons and shit, but you just want to have more peace, but it's through what she only thing she knows is through control. I mean, at the end of the day, like her idea was good. It's just the way she's going about it. But the government, in their case, you can't even say it was a good thing because they legit just want domination for the sake of domination. Because everything to keep throwing to her, that's really what the government wants, not really what she wants. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then in the aftermath, it's like, well, this isn't making it look any better. Because I mean, like again, that's another misconception in the lore is that you know she was just being manipulated by the government. Just like I mean, I think you even said that she suspected some folks were involved with the bigger shit that's going on with the government anyway. So but she just couldn't put her finger on it. She had like a hunch or something.
Mm.
And then not to mention when we went through that when we go through all the other chapters, you do actually see that basically the big wigs that are run the whole entire thing because the only people that truly gave her the creeps are her own bosses, and I wouldn't doubt that they got shady shit going on even in that department, and like you already mentioned before, they already have their own big ring. And then, not to mention all the other devils that they have going, even the primal devils, to be honest, so it's like we got much bigger fish in the sea than just focusing on what Makima's doing, basically. you know,
Yeah.
because I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, we'll say this though for both parts is like in part one, she may be the main antagonist, but she's not like there's the bigger fish is the government, and then even in part two, the bigger fish is still the government. So it's like you see how we still have a bigger issue, even though despite her being gone. You know what I'm saying? Then not to mention you already killed off her reincarnation. That's besides the point.
Yeah.
Because I mean, look at how like okay, I know part two just turned to shit stuff, but look at how like okay, world building wise, look at how part two turned out, and with how everything else, when with how the government's trying to run shit. Now everything is going to shit because the government doesn't have her to like basically stand in the way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because like it just saddens me how we've gotten this far, and now it's just kind of like you look at what was trying to be avoided, and now because of her gone, now it's just going to ultimately be the main like type of outcome, I guess I could say.
Mm-hmm.
Now onto the other conceptions I was going over is that yeah, I guess I cleared up quickly. Yeah, basically, she basically had some other uh, problems that she never had to get off her chest, like her, becoming what she became because of the government. Like another misconception I can go by is like people trying to treat her upbringing like a free excuse, which I guess I'll get into with that. But again, that's still kind of ignoring the bigger issue with the government. Like you can't really just because again, this is a common problem, not just with this, is that you can't really just focus on one person when they're a part of a bigger system that we're just a product of that dysfunctional society or just dysfunctional setting in general. When they go down that bad path because this is what they wanted her to become, but then they're just kind of like treating it as if that doesn't matter when it actually does because then it's one thing to look at what someone became, but it's another if you're ignoring what caused that shit to go in and to play into that role of what they became. Because she didn't like. I guess I could use this comparison again, but I'm just going to focus specifically on this part. Like basically how like with Shadow be shaped be a weapon, because he has Maria, that's why he could, basically revamp to go down to much healthier and better path. Well, in her case, she didn't have that kind of luxury where she could express what she really wants, how she's really feeling and whatnot. Because honestly, when you look at the lore itself, with part one, she doesn't have anyone she can express that with. That's why she was crying at the theaters, because she knows when she sees that family in the movie, she knows she's never gonna get that. And I remember you seeing that part two as well. So
Yeah.
because given that like I know that because you that's your waifu and whatnot, but it's like you and I both know that she never had anyone that where she could really express her true side, the side that she truly wants to have good things with. And because of that, that's what kind of forced her to be detached, emotionally distant, you know. But again, not because she's incapable of it, but because she just doesn't have that luxury, sadly. And onto the other, okay, I guess we'll go on to these other ones that I've seen misconceptions of, is like basically acting like as if she's not capable of actually feeling, or basically the fact that acting like she's just a problem. Like, no, she's not just a problem. And sadly, part two kind of basically made that narration, unfortunately, is like she's not the problem here. She's not the main big problem. It's the government. Government's the one that you want to be, bring that mess to, not her, because she's just a product of it. And that's another thing too that we went through the three videos, is like they always keep treating her like she's the main problem for everything, what's going on. But no, that's the government, because she's just doing what she's taught, But this is just like a Deltarune video, I think, where you were saying the same thing with the one of the ones with the choice that you make. People keep attacking them, but it's like they're just doing what you told them to do. It's like you getting mad at them for doing something that he told you to do. What the fuck?
No, no, no. I think you're
This
confusing
feels
Deltarune with Undertale. But yeah.
Undertale, my bad. Either way, like you know what I'm saying. Like basically, you're attacking the other one that just doing what you told them to do, and it's like, okay, why you make it hold them accountable for, and you don't want to instruct them to do so.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where I'm like, you're not really kind of looking at the bigger picture, or you're not really understanding the situation. You're just reacting to surface level shit. Because it's easy to point your finger at that person. You only react to surface level shit, but you look at it deeper. It's like, wait a minute, I see who's the real problem here. It's almost feeling like a Timmy Turner thing, where you're the reason why she's like this, and here you are bitching about her. What the fuck is wrong with you? It's like,
Yeah.
do you see where the cause is coming from, specifically speaking? It's like nothing's really getting done if people just react to the cause of a symptom, and then just allow the next symptom to create another problem, and then they're just going to do the same thing. It's like that doesn't help shit.
Yeah.
Because like I don't remember, like I remember you told me you were trying to put a post about like basically the bigger picture of the lore on Twitter or X, whatever. But for whatever reason, that got canned for some reason.
Yeah, but I retold everything in the first video with the Apache, so man. So I basically retold everything. So yeah.
Basically, I mean, it's good you were told, but it's like, what the fuck? Luckily for my fanfic I wrote, they didn't tear that shit down, so I guess I'm the lucky one. But either
Yeah.
way, it's like, because you just said with alternative history, because of or at least one of the events that she might have been involved in, Puerto Rico becomes an independent, place, and socialism becomes a thing. So it's like, if
Yeah,
anything, this is good. I mean,
basically because
she even approved of it.
if we want to be
Yeah,
consistent with the logic about, okay, if this concept didn't exist, then by consequence the second most popular thing becomes the most popular thing by default, right?
right,
If the
right.
if the but apparently in part two, even though it's supposed to be alternative history, nothing really changed, which doesn't really make any sense.
That
Este,
through. The author didn't
yeah,
think it through.
yeah, like for example, like America is still America, like as we understand
Hmm.
right now, which like doesn't really make sense when you really think about it. A world after World War One, like there hasn't been a war since World War One. There's going to be drastic changes, right? If the
Right.
and the Soviet Union is still a thing, Which I mean that part kind of makes sense, right? Because the Soviet Union was the product after
Right.
World War One, right? But like at the same time, like
Hmm.
the Cold War is still a thing, which somehow doesn't make sense because if there was no World War
Not
Two
really.
and there was no fascism, by that logic, America will be more
It
friendly
wouldn't
with
make
the
sense.
more friendly with the Soviet Union. In fact, in real life, I'm being a nerd. In real life, as
Hmm.
the vice president, at the Henry Wallace, who was supposed to be the president because when FDR died, but the Democratic
Hmm.
Party convinced FDR to replace him to Harry Truman, who was a hardcore anti-communist. So
Hmm.
who actually wanted to join the KKK. So it's like, so they replaced a person who wanted to get friendly relations with the Soviet Union and replace it with someone who dropped the nuclear bomb. It's like- so like,
Right.
and also he bombed Puerto Rico as well. So that's another body count that he has. Yeah, so it's like, if there was no World War II nor fascism, Henry Wallace would be the president instead. If we want to be consistent with that reasoning.
Yeah, because that's another problem too. I want to get to real quick is that within the lore change, so I mean, since it is basically alternative history, it's clear to me that the author didn't think this shit through. Wait a minute, if there's no World War II, then that means none of that shit would have happened, and then things would have been better off because, like you said, then everything would be more peaceful between America and the Soviet Union, because then everybody would be more closer to world peace than how things actually are. It's like, yeah, he didn't think about that shit through because
Yeah,
think about it, no World War II, no Nazis, no fascism to basically dominate the hierarchy. So it wouldn't make sense for people to want to bomb each other again, especially
pretty
that new
much.
chapter about the recreating nuclear bombs. That's why part two is a whole bunch of mess because why are they creating nuclear bombs on Japan for? You know what I'm saying? Because now that in that context, it kind of doesn't really add up at all.
Pretty
It's
much. And
like
like it basically proves
why?
America is
Yeah,
like in this universe, America is like like so bloodthirsty as a culture that they in a world where nuclear weapons don't exist, they recreate it from scratch
somehow.
somehow. And they drop it on the Soviet Union,
Yeah,
so they just committed genocide. That's another thing.
right. So now that's just America. Now no more the certain fed herd that committed genocide. It's like okay, that's just America now
Yeah,
on
so it's
Japan for
like
some the reason. It's
and now
like which doesn't
Yoru is a hardcore American. She loves
even though
America.
she's not in America, but that's besides the
I
point.
mean, she's the war devil, so America dropping the nuke, that's
Fair
like the best
enough.
thing for her. Este,
Fair enough.
and as somebody noticed that I didn't caught up until somebody pointed out that if you look at the scar her
Hmm.
face, because it does change throughout the story. Like if you compare her first appearance with the scar versus now, it's different. Este,
That's different.
like the scar right now looks like the logo of Marquis Lawton, which is the largest military contract for the U.S. government. So it's like if that was on purpose, okay, that is a subtle reference. But like if not, that maybe that's just a weird ass coincidence.
Who knows? Who knows? Yeah, because I mean, like I said, it's like because considering not to mention because of the shit that Makima knew in the past, it's like she knew certain things that people don't know about, like no more Nazis, no more, of the basically all the freaking fascists and hierarchies
Yeah,
that you could think of that would have definitely taken over. So it's like, yeah, it just feels weird that again, like you mentioned before, or like we mentioned before, but other videos, like people get so focused on her that they ignore everything else, and then
yeah,
I'm just like, that ain't true. Like I said, at the end of the day, it's kind of stupid to act like she's the only one that's in the wrong when, like I said, that's not actually true.
yeah,
And considering that the government wants wars to happen for some stupid ass reason, you see that they have an American nuke. I think it was Japan, so it's like, yeah, this doesn't look too good. It's like because I mean, it just feels weird to me still that in a nuanced setting, they're still trying to turn it into a black and white setting, and I'm like, what the hell?
pretty much.
Yeah, because I mean, because like I already mentioned with the misconceptions is that I think if I can even have one, it's like one of the main misconceptions about her is that, like I said, it's like they make it seem like she wants control for control's sake. I'm like, that's not really true. She actually does want good things. It's just since all she knows is control, that's the only way she thinks she's gonna get it. You know what I'm saying? Like that's all she knows. So it's
Yeah,
like, yeah, that's not really her fault for that. That's the government. Which, like, I remember you mentioned, like, you were saying it was kind of stupid, but I remember you mentioning, like, with Denji asking her if there's going to be crappy movies in her new world or whatever, and her talking about no. And then it's like disagreement. It's like, I feel like, okay, me personally, it's like, I feel like the reason for that response of his to pose is like, oh, like he has some guilty pleasures for some crappy movies. Like, oh, damn it, I won't see those ever again. So it's like, yeah, that's why he disagreed with that.
I mean,
It's
yeah.
like, yeah,
Yeah, but like for Denji, I know Denji doesn't know the bigger picture. It's like, you know,
not really.
to my knowledge, most of the characters that we focus on are not aware of what's going on in the bigger picture, right? Like Asa is not aware of what's going
No,
on behind the scenes. Denji doesn't know, and he accidentally joined their side, but he doesn't know that. It's the
not really.
in other cases. So it's like, but for me, Denji is like of all the things you can disagree with was like her utopia, yeah, because that's basically what it is. She does admit she wants heaven on earth, right? As
Right.
there's like the only disagreement is about whether or not we still have shitty movies. I'm like, is that the only thing you still worry about? Like
Like I said,
not the whole devil problem, at least the one that actively want to destroy humanity, or or the gun devil, or which, by the way, the gun devil works with the government, which then Makima didn't even know, and she's the one trying to
no, not
hunt it
really.
down for a long time. That's her enemy number one. Este,
Like I said, for
is
Denji, it's just a guilty pleasure movies as shit, and he's like, damn, I won't see those again. So,
I mean, if you told me in a world where there's no more Steven Seagal movies, I'll be sad as well because there's nothing to make fun of. Este, but like,
or basically like that other basically like that other actor. I can't think of his name. Is like no more of his shitty movies to make fun of,
yeah,
or
no, no,
basically
no,
some
no,
bad
no.
rip-off movies where you're like, okay, this is clearly shit, or the Asylum Inc. or
Oh,
the Amazing Folk.
not Asylum. No, I do have a guilty pleasure of Asylum movies. I know they're shit, but they're entertaining. It's like,
I mean, I'll even I'll admit that there's been some shitty movies where like I like that one with Nicolas Cage, The Bees. Like, okay, that one's shit, but I just laugh because it's how bad his performance is. So I'm like, okay, at least I have something to laugh at from this movie.
yeah,
I mean, it's funny for the wrong reasons, but that's besides the point.
pretty much. Yeah, I mean, it is. It's the same thing with the fucking what's that one? What the other? Oh, The Room. Tell me what's so. Like that is one of my favorite movies of all time. Not because it is good, it is the complete opposite. But that's because I love it.
Yeah.
Because it is an accidental comedy, despite being on
What about
paper
Sharknado? What about Sharknado?
maybe the first one, but not the sequels.
No, the sequels are shit. Birdemic. Oh, okay, Birdemic's definitely one.
Oh yeah, the Birdemic is a different beast altogether. The second one with the god awful green screen is the god awful green screen when one of the characters was fighting the birds with a fucking I forgot how you call that thing. The thing you hang your clothes in. Hanger, or I don't know how
The
you call
clothes
it.
hanger. Clothes hanger. That's called clothes
Uh-huh.
hanger.
Yeah, clothes hanger. Like trying to beat a bird with a clothes hanger. Like, come on, bro.
Who even uses clothes hanger as a weapon anyway?
I don't know. Don't ask me.
Like, but no, but back to this so at hand, it's like, yeah, like I said, like that's the main problem, and then not to mention like on that end, and then like I mentioned before, you know what? I'm also saying in this video, just to make it more elaborate. Like I have done this comparison, but just to get more clear on it with the context with how that looks, because I've already compared Denji to Hal and how they interact, but like I mentioned before, I will admit that the way they go about it is coming from different places, but at the end of the day, they're doing the same shit. Because here's the bottom line, guys, like for example, Hal Roxanne, he was basically using Roxanne unintentionally, so Denji was using Michael unintentionally, so they both just mainly are self-serving focused. Same thing with Denji is like both of them are basically just trying to feel validated, but at the same time, they're like I said, they're basically in this relationship for themselves. It's not for them. So it's
Yeah.
like this comparison unfortunately doesn't help. And then it doesn't even help Hal in the end of the movie complain that Roxanne never got to know him better. Denji at the end complaining that didn't Mike him pretend that he married. But the problem is what they both have in common is they both didn't give a shit either. So it's like, well, that doesn't look too good. It just feels
Hmm.
so weird how perfect that comparison is. It really saddens me. It's like, damn, it just had to be all the movies. It had to be with this dude. And both are pretty much dumbasses because Kyle literally calls himself Titan, like literally like with the tight, like something you actually tighten, not the other way around. It's like, damn it, that doesn't look too good.
Not really.
It's
It,
just it's funny how it's funny. The comparison to me is like, how is it that this is possible? That both of these guys are doing the same shit. It may be coming from different places, but they're doing the exact same shit.
yeah.
It's like it just feels so weird to me. You know, it's like I said, that's another misconception I want to get about like the relationship that we go about with the other videos is that really and truly, like I said, even one person said it, like one person said in this video, but it's not about it, it's about how it's like his 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 uh his actions were selfish. Danji's actions were selfish too. So it's like that's why, like I told you before, like if someone read a fanfic where she does meet someone that actually does give a shit, and then one people were like, why are they cool? It's like because she sees he actually gives a fuck, unlike the other people she's been with. Because like I told you in the lore itself, she's surrounded by selfish people. So
Yeah.
outside of that, she doesn't know what it's like to be with someone who's selfless. And then sadly, that selfless person's not Denji. I'm sorry, it's just not him. You know,
Yeah.
it's like I said, he's just like everyone else in her perspective. So that's why she didn't think of him any differently. And it's like I said, it's one of those things where I'm like, you know, people keep hammering on her so much, but they kind of forget that there's other folks that aren't really, like I said, no one's truly in the right in that setting. To be honest with you, no one's truly in the right to be so to say, you know,
Yeah. Not.
unless you want to count Pochita, everybody else is not really in the right. To be honest.
Yeah. Nobody, with the exception of Pochita, who is like, and also Makima, because we already did four videos about
Oh
this
yeah, yeah,
topic.
yeah, yeah.
They're one of the
Right.
very few devils, unless there's another one that I don't remember. They're one of the very few devils that have a positive view on humans, and they're actively want to do something for the betterment of humans. Unlike all the other devils who either hate humans, want to destroy humans, or at best they're neutral, like the Power, who doesn't hate humans, but it doesn't love humans either. She's just there for the trolls, you know.
Yeah, she's neutral.
Yeah, she's pretty
Yeah, she
neutral.
was neutral.
Like she will not kill you unless you threaten her, of course, but that's self-defense at that point.
Uh, Actually, I hate to tell you, dude, but Power's a blood devil, so she might eat a few folks. I'm just saying. Whether or not they are attacking or not, I'm just saying.
Okay, well, good. Okay, that may pose a problem, but she's not actively evil. Mm.
No, but the problem with that is if she gets too hungry, then she might just eat them.
Well,
I know how this shit is. That's what I'm
y-
saying. Like, she gets a little too hungry, she'll definitely eat them because she, you know, feeds on blood. So, yeah, I just see that with her.
yeah. That's
So,
also like, I mean that they can say same because I think the only benefit that the Power has such a low IQ. Let's be honest. She basically shared the half
and then
brain
she just,
cell that Denji has.
dude, it's like if there was a case to solve, don't leave it up to Denji. It's like, nah, he too. Like I will admit, power make him seem like he has complex thought, but believe me, he does not have complex thought.
Yeah,
It's like, yeah, compared to him, she is like technically the dumbest, but at least in that setting, it's like, yeah, they both ain't the brightest. I don't
yeah.
know whether or not they're conscious of it's another story, but yeah, it's like they ain't the brightest.
Mm,
But no, overall, like I think I covered all those. I think I covered just about all most of those conceptions, especially considering like I mean, I already pointed out that other video too. And I guess I could bring up here is like people literally like there was this one person took the time to literally put a list of ways she was like using him, but then again, like I mentioned before, it's like okay, he was using her too. So because again, I told you that before, you said yes. It's like the way she was using him is that because he was expecting something in return from her. So
yeah,
just again, like I keep saying, like I think the biggest big conception for her is the fact that people make it seem like his actions were altruistic when he clearly weren't altruistic. You know, like
yeah,
just unintentionally using her too, and if people keep turning into because, like I said, people treat his victimization like he was a sympathetic victim from the start, and it's like not really. Like I said, in their relation dynamic, like I mentioned before in previous videos, it's just him just seeing what he can get out of her, and then she just getting what she needs out of him. So it's like this is not a mutual understanding relationship at all. It's just transactional.
Yeah.
and they keep treating it like it was just one sided when it wasn't.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you guys keep turning this shit into something that it isn't. Like I said, it's like, it didn't like I mentioned before. What doesn't even help even more is that they got nerve to compare him to Finn. I'm like, first of all, Finn doesn't do what the fuck Bubblegum wants, and secondly, he just, again, his comparison makes more sense with Hal, because him and Hal literally were doing the same shit, literally have the same mindset. Well, with the IQ a bit, I guess, but yeah, like I said, although maybe the IQ might be a bit debatable, but point is, like I said, they were both essentially doing the same shit. It may be coming from different places, but they were both doing the same shit. So it's like,
Yeah.
like I said, anyone who talks about that and act like, oh, he was being innocently nice. Okay, where did you get that shit from? Where did you get that he was being innocently nice from? That's what I want to know. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, he turned the shit to something that it isn't. Like I said, if I can even ask you this question: name me one part where he was being innocently nice to her, for the sake of being nice. Name me one chapter where he's being nice for the sake of being nice. It's like,
Don't.
what the fuck?
Yeah, that's a tough question. Unless I had to reread the first part for the seventh time, but like I don't remember the
Mm.
example.
You see what I'm saying? Like I said, he did, like I said this before in the other videos, he doesn't really truly give a shit about Minecraft. But like I said, even in that part with him complaining, it's like, yeah, the problem with that is I would have taken your side if I didn't remember you also didn't give a fuck. It was most I'm like, maybe I would have took your side if I didn't remember you also don't give a fuck either. So it's like, it's because again, like I said, again, the last conception is like, look, he did not give, and she just took. That is not what happened. That is not what happened. Like I said, you can talk about the victimization all you want. I won't deny it, but don't make it sound like, oh, all he did was give and she just took. That is not what fucking happened. Not even
Yeah.
close. What manga are you guys reading? Like seriously, like where did you get this information from? It's like, because last time I checked, like I mentioned before, the way she was using him is because he was expecting something in return from her. So that was not, doesn't sound like a dude who's giving. It's not like he wanted something and just using her basically to get it. So no, that's not what was happening. Even if that was
Yeah.
unintentional, either way, still doing that shit. So it's like I said, don't turn the shit into something that it isn't. You know, like I said, it's funny how many people get so biased about certain stuff that they just get one sided. Then their perspective is completely rigged and completely, like I said, just looking only focus on this aspect, ignoring the other aspect. That's like as bad as reading. That's like as bad as reading recent articles and stuff. Like they focus so much on the other person that wrote them off that they forget the other person wrote them off. It's like, well, I guess we're playing favorites. It's like this dude, he's clearly a serial killer, but we're gonna ignore the other dude as a serial killer too. It's like, okay, so what difference does it make?
Eh.
So, yeah, but yeah, it's just one of those things where I'm like, you guys need to quit, looking at one side and then ignoring the other side, even though you know the other one's wrong, or you should at least know unless you read the shit. So yeah,
Yeah.
those are just misconceptions I just wanted to go over with in this video, because it's just sad, because listen, I keep seeing Reddit pages of folks just focusing so much on that shit. I'm like, again, like I keep saying before, if you didn't know any better, you would think she's literally the only one that's wrong in this, and I know that's not true, but you would think so with how focused they are on that shit. I'm like, okay, motherfucker, she is not the only one that you put in this type of predicament or an ordeal. Like I said, we're just going to forget about the government. We're just going to forget about him using her too. We're just going to forget about everybody else and the folks, like I mentioned before, that with the ones who became chains because they were just wanting something in return from her. We're just going to forget all about that and just focus on her for some reason. Like just focus purely on her, even though they also ain't in the right. But okay, that's besides the point. It's like
Yeah.
that's what you call, if I hadn't seen some bullshit before, I've seen some bullshit before.
Yeah.
Because I'm just like, yeah. So yeah, those are things I just want to cover in this video, because of just how people just keep being completely, lopsided with their freaking perspectives and shit. So
Pretty much. Mm.
yeah, because it's ridiculous. So yeah, guys, just want to point out those issues that people keep creating misconceptions or biases. So like, subscribe, and I'm literally doing the outro for his video. So peace.
Yeah. Goodbye. And hopefully no more Chainsaw Man videos for a while now, because this is like the fourth time now. I don't want to be a Chainsaw Man or a Ruby channel. But yeah,
Might turn into that. Keep this up.
probably. Okay, like, subscribe, share. Hope see you guys next time.